Hey everybody, this is Kohdok here, and today we are bringing back the idea of SCGs. So SCGs were something I brought up in my video about LCGs, also known as ECGs, living card games, which is the registered trademark of Fantasy Flight Games, and expandable card games, which is the more generic terms. The idea is that, unlike a trading card game, where you get booster packs containing random cards that you can then exchange and trade to get the ones you want, you instead just buy all of the cards all at once. Now, it's proposed as an idea to stop randomness, stop cards from being expensive, but it tends to have a lot of negative knock-on effects, primarily being that the cards have very little value, but a lot of people seem to miss the fact that it's frankly not a very engaging model in competitive play, because people would have to be buying sets of 100 cards or something to get the one or two competitive cards that they want, and people aren't generally big fans of that. I mean, you could talk about cracking boosters all day, but trading card games, by their very nature, allow you to engage with them at any level that you want. You could buy just a couple of booster packs, you could buy big boxes if you want to, or you could go on the secondary market and just purchase the cards that you want. That option is always there. It means that they can actually make sets that are large enough that they cause a splash. That's another problem with LCGs, is if you make the sets, if you make the sets too large, people don't want to buy them if they only want one or two cards out of it. But if you make the sets too small, they don't really have an impact. So what am I doing talking about subscription card games, as those would obviously be a similar model? I mean, the idea is that if you get a subscription card game, you are sent a pack every month, and it would have to be the same pack that everybody gets, or else that would be like gambling, and that's not really a good thing. But it would have to copy that card game model. But how do you do that if you're not making a competitive game? Well, I think I finally have a good pitch on how to do it, and some of that help came from this. This is a box for something called Hunt a Killer. You've probably encountered sponsorships for it somewhere. Hashtag not sponsored content. But Hunt a Killer is also a subscription box game. So it's one where you're sent the physical evidence of a murder mystery in these envelopes, and each month you get the next chapter in the story. These are the contents for chapter 1 of A Murder in a Theater, and they give you little props and stuff to mess with too. I actually like the fact that chapter 1 included a notebook. I mean, the notebook contains clues and things to read and understand, but it's also, it's a notebook. I could write case information in here, have a nice place to record it. It's very, very thoughtful how they did it. However, there's kind of an obvious problem with this, isn't there? Because as the game is a murder mystery, once you solve the murder, you're kind of done, aren't you? You can't really put that rabbit back into the hat. Once you solve the murder mystery, the mystery is solved. All you can really do is just kind of, put this away. You can't really do it again. But that's the thing that games like Arkham Horror really change. Is in Arkham Horror, you are you're given random decks of cards that get shuffled together. You're introduced to different scenarios that change how they work every time. You might get different cards on the deck. You might play as different characters. You might make different choices based on what's going on. Even if the solution is kind of there, each experience is different. Arkham Horror, the LCG, has replay value in ways that Hunt a Killer really does not. And that is the thing about games that I would really try to, put the focus on if I made a subscription card game. So I would also make something narrative-driven, similar to Arkham Horror. I don't know if you guys know what an adventure serial is. You're familiar with shows that have an ongoing storyline, but adventure serials were the first real kind of efforts to do that in the medium of film. You have things like Clutch Cargo, you have The Shadow for radio dramas and stuff like that. What they do is it's a story told in a series of small segments, and each segment ends on kind of a cliffhanger to make you watch the next day. Clutch Cargo was kind of famous for this. Oh no, I'm introducing a whole new crowd of people to Clutch Cargo. I don't know how many people are prepared for that. But the idea is that in Clutch Cargo, each day you get a snippet of the central story. You get a part of the story and it ends on some kind of cliffhanger, and you have to tune in the next day to see what happens next. Although, with Clutch Cargo specifically, they would actually then, on the weekend, run the entire story. But there's still the ability to, like, tune in. You want to see like the next thing that happens. It's, you know, classic, like, cliffhanger television. So I would actually make a game that's a bit like Arkham Horror, but with a focus on pulpy action, like the old action movie serials. Like, the Indiana Jones movies were inspired by these exact kind of serials, so the idea is it would be a game called, like, The Adventure Guild, and you can have, like, all sorts of, like, pulpy adventures. It wouldn't really have horror the way Arkham Horror does. Arkham Horror is a game that's designed to be, like, actually incredibly unfair towards its players, involving a lot of luck, and the characters in Arkham Horror are constantly under the effects of bad luck. I would design something a bit more pulpy, a bit more fun, a bit more skill and risk-taking based. Like, it would have all sorts of crazy stories. Like, you might be exploring, like, an ancient tomb in one story, or solving a murder mystery on the next one, or just, you know, going to the moon. All those sorts of, you know, fun kind of adventures. And you could have, like different encounters. You'd have, like, the scenario deck similar to Arkham Horror, and, like, you could have updates that get shipped in the mail. Although, that does beg a question, because the Arkham Horror game and games like it tend to have, like, a core set that contains everything you need to play. It contains, like, a bunch of cards, a bunch of characters to put together. How do I handle that in the game I am proposing? Well, I actually have a very simple solution, and that is a two-pronged approach. I would have two separate products available. I would have a core set and a starter set, and I know that sounds redundant, but hear me out. So, a core set would be something like this, like the Arkham Horror. Although this is the campaign expansion box, I have my core set in here. I've gotten rid of my core set box because this is the more up-to-date box that has, like, the nice, like, card organizers inside, the things that the original ones didn't have. But the idea is that there would be, like, a core game that ships like this, that comes in a nice, big, fancy box with, like, the rules and a bunch of cards and stuff. And this would be, specifically, it would use the same system as the subscription game, but it specifically is meant to be like a standalone experience. It's a large box that you can sell at conventions, sell to game stores. It would contain, like, all of the chapters and enough to support, like, 4 players and a bunch of character customization and all of that. A real taste of what the adventure could be. It would be like a complete adventure, but only, like, 4 chapters long, you know, something that people could, like, sink their teeth into, see if they like it. It would be a bit on the more expensive side. It would have room for, like, expansions and stuff like this. Like, this is these ones that are still wrapped up that I haven't opened. This is the actual, like, Dunwich Horror, like, packs right here. These over here are, like, other things I bought. Like, I actually have, like, what is it, Labyrinths of Lunacy, I think? Yeah, the Labyrinths of Lunacy, which is, like, a standalone they put out for conventions that can support up to 12 players. But the idea is that this is, like, a combined proof of concept and one-stop purchase. If people purchase, like, this big core set, they'll know what they're kind of in for. They'll have a nice solid collection. They'll have a good starting place. And as for the starter set, that would be the thing that you get in the mail. But of course, there's the obstacle there. The core set comes with so much neat stuff. How would I handle the starter set? Well, with a box like this. Now, this comes from something called Box-A-Tale, which is, like, this weird kind of, like, app toy craft thing. It's kind of garbage, but I was able to get it for, like, $5, and I was like, hey, so just ignore the branding on here. But this is exactly the kind of package I would use to send out a starter set to, like, mail. It's like an envelope, but it's a bit taller. This box, as it is now, is not, like, precision shaped to, like, hold, like, 8 by 10 by 8.5 by 11 or A4 size paper. It would probably have to be tailored slightly, but this is, like, the perfect size to, like, fit in a mailbox. This could go into a P.O. box, even like a small apartment mailbox. It could fit through the mail slot in the door. But that's the idea I have here. It would be, unlike the big core box, which would be, like, this big bombastic experience that has, like, everything you need, the starter set would instead focus on having, like, a more tightly designed experience. Like, inside this box, I'm actually able to get a lot in here. I can get in, like, 2 character decks and a scenario deck for, like, chapter 1 of the story. And this, you know, if people buy into the subscription, like, I don't know, like maybe $15, $20 a month, people could they could, if they buy it at like a convention, they could walk away with Chapter 1 and start with Chapter 2. And this would be a bare bones experience to save on like shipping and production costs, because that would be the biggest thing that eats up space there. Although Hunt-A-Killer has, Hunt-A-Killer is actually $30 a month, but they do have like a pretty impressive amount of like props and stuff inside of their boxes. But this would be kind of a more streamlined experience. We have like our 2 starter decks, and they'd be like really tightly designed, and there's like no way to like alter them. It doesn't come with enough character cards, but the idea is that the characters you receive in these starter sets would be perfectly tailored to the story at hand. Like, let's say the story deck was a murder mystery, right? But the 2 characters you get to play as are characters named Hemlock Soames and Madame Marble. You know, very obvious XPs of characters from mystery stories. So you have a murder mystery as the start of the adventure, and the characters you get to play as are a pair of detectives. Like, you'd have, like, you know, explorers and like strongmen and stuff like that for like the tomb exploration. You have like real Indiana Jones types, but here you'd have like real Sherlock Holmes types being detectives who have like all the cards, the perfect cards to engage with this set here. Of course, the core set would absolutely be compatible with these adventures as well. You could, if you wanted to, reach into the core box and get out like a bunch of, get out the character cards. You could play as the characters from the core box. There might even be a way to incorporate cards from the core box into the scenario deck to make it be able to support 4 players, to like really expand that experience, make it big and explosive. Or you could do like play just what's in the starter box. You could say it's like a pure experience or like an enhanced experience. There'd be people who like, I imagine they debate online over which is the better experience. Maybe some people should say play it once with just the contents of the box, then play it again with the contents of the core box. You wouldn't need the core box to play this. There's room in here for the cards. There's room in here for like filling in some sheets, some basic like rules and setup. I would probably make aggressive use of QR codes to send people to rulebooks, so I wouldn't have to print those again. But the idea is, in subsequent months, you get like some smaller packets. Like the next episode is what I'm calling. I'm calling them episodes because I'm basing it on like the old like adventure series we get on TV. You would get like a packet that contains the cards necessary to play the next chapter. And this would be like an even smaller packet, like really cheap to make and send out. That includes the contents of the next chapter. It contain like some character cards to mess with the decks you have. It will contain the scenario cards. A bit like how Arkham Horror does it now, but a bit more streamlined. But of course, this would get kind of boring after a while. But well, I'll get into that later. But I think the idea of making it so that you get kind of end on a cliffhanger, like you have to make like some kind of decision or ask some kind of question, or, you know, have something secured by the end of something, or else like the cliffhanger goes off. Like Gloomhaven has these cards, and what they are is they're basically they're called city cards. They're basically like side quests. What happens is the game like tells you a scenario, and then it tells you to make a choice, and then after that you flip over the card and you learn what the choice was. But imagine if instead you were only given the scenario and the questions, but you didn't get the answers until you got the next month's episode. Until you got the next episode, you wouldn't know what your decisions make. And this would actually, you know, cause a much more serious debate. If you can't just cheat and look up the answers, you'd have to answer these quandaries honestly. And there would be people online who would debate about what is the right situation. I know there's like this stigma about, you know, inviting debate about the thing you've made, like lots of TV shows, you know, people go around and they predict things, like they feed into the foreshadowing. It's like, oh, this is the case and this is the case, you know. A lot of like TV producers hate it. They think that if people are able to properly read their foreshadowing, that it somehow makes them some kind of hack, because I mean, they don't want to use a red herring or anything like that, even though those exist for a reason. Moving on. Imagine if you had to make these decisions without the context of knowing what those decisions would cause. I think it would be really fascinating. It would heighten engagement. It would make people excited to get the next pack. It would give them something to, you know, agonize over as they wait for it. I honestly think a lot of people would be super into that experience, and it would not be limited to just, you know, you get this starter box and then you get just nothing but these for like the next 8 to 12 months. No. The idea is every quarter you actually get another like really nice box like this. Like you get 1 or 2 of these, and then you get a nice big box. And this nice big box would have like premium like swag, like really nice kit inside. It would have like nice fancy player dashboards. It would have like character miniatures and fancy tokens, just all sorts of like neat little things you get for being a subscriber. And like, of course, there would naturally be like a compiled edition of the full case at the end, like released maybe 4 months after the final chapter and the subscription model is released, the same way they do it with Arkham Horror, the same way they do it with Hunt a Killer. But it would not contain these like neat and handy bonuses. They would not have like the things that you get for these are purely meant to be bonuses you get for being a subscriber, like really like fancy dashboards, maybe even on occasion, just really nice slick merchandise you get for the loyalty. And like I said, by getting these on occasion, it makes these, I mean, these are kind of boring, but this helps break up what might seem like the monotony of just getting these over and over again. But occasionally you could just get something really nice, and then the story would end. You'd get all the chapters. I'd also make use of like YouTube, social media, things like that. Like you scan the QR code, and it like has like a dialogue, like a spoken and animated introduction to the story. Like in our idea from before, you'd have like Hemlock Soames and Madame Marble, and they're like running down the street because they have an urgent meeting with somebody, and then they arrive and it's too late, the man's already dead, oh no. And then it goes on to the instructions of how to set up, and the book might have additional QR codes. Like these stories in like Arkham Horror, like they tell you like the answers to what happened in the book. Here you'd have to like scan a QR code, and it would lead to like the animation to tell you what happened. Like where was it? Like I had here like the Staff of Ra. Like this is the story I had in mind for like the core set. So in the Tomb of Doom, the goal is to have the players recover the Staff of Ra before either they run out of time or they all get KO'd by like the dungeon traps and the evil minions of the Scorpions, who are also here to retrieve the staff. So if they retrieve the staff, if they successfully get it, they scan like 1 bar and they get, say, huzzah, you've gotten the Staff of Ra. One player takes the Staff of Ra holder token and adds the card to their deck. But if they fail, the Staff of Ra gets put back into the box until the next time, Cairo Calamity. So based on how they perform in Tomb of Doom, if they get the staff, then Cairo Calamity plays out in that the bad guys will try to steal the staff from them. If they fail to get the staff in the Tomb of Doom, then they have to find the Staff of Ra in Cairo Calamity and get it back. So it's one story naturally leading into the other. Even though there are 2 conclusions to Tomb of Doom, Cairo Calamity can come out in multiple ways. Fright at the museum is when they deliver the staff to the Cairo Museum, but it turns out the head of the museum wants to combine it with the evil Staff of Anubis to do something, and so he awakens the mummies and things like this. But if the players fail to recover the staff, or if the staff gets stolen from them in Cairo Calamity, they go there to say, oh, we're sorry it happened, we're just letting you know what's up. And the guy's like, oh no, but I have this right here, you see, muahahaha. And then the Staff of Anubis would be like the final chapter, the epic showdown. They have to stop the museum keeper's ritual. They have to prevent him from combining the powers of the Staff of Ra and the Staff of Anubis to take over the world, or open a portal to somewhere or something. To speak to the gods, I guess, was maybe like a real like Ark of the Covenant thing. And this would be like this would be like the knockdown, drag out, the be all end all. If they fail, they are dead. It's all over. They have to win this one. But that would kind of be how it would carry out from place to place. Like if here they manage to catch sight of the criminal, or manage to capture the criminal, or the criminal gets away or something, there could be like 2 possible segues into the next segment depending on how you do it. So you have like a couple of routes through the scenarios. You have all sorts of great things you could do. And yeah, that is how I would try to create a subscription card game. I would make aggressive use of the elements of games and adventure serials that not only give it a lot of replay value thanks to the fact that it's a game, but also the fact that since it's a monthly release, you have something new to look forward to playing every month. And then once you've collected it all, you can, you know, play it again, try a different route, make different decisions, use different characters. And once the next chapter starts, you'll have a couple more characters that you can play around with and whatever happens next. Maybe Sherlock Holmes goes to the moon. It's really up to you. It's an idea I have with just bottomless potential. I just wanted to talk about it. It's an example of what the model could do. I might make something out of it, I might not. But yeah, that was extra thrilling. So that is my thoughts on SCG, subscription card games. And thanks again to all of my patrons who help make these kinds of videos possible. Especially big thanks to Spud May, Cleclo, Skeladrakis, Christopher P., Cody and Kaya, Danny, Vaughn, and Johnny D2, who are donating at the $10 and higher level. We also have the $5 and higher donators whose names you can see on screen here. You can get Discord access for as little as $1 per month. And through that Discord access, we've been doing things like game testing. We've been having game nights. People have been showing off their games. We've been discussing design. It's just been a great experience. Just $1 a month is enough to get you in to enjoy all that. Although I've added a perk to the $100 tier, which is the consultation tier. You can bring in other people who are working on your game. It's been great. So if you want to do that, you can come check me out on Patreon. And until next time, this is Kohdok signing off.